So what do you think about Alec Baldwin's case being dismissed?
That was such a miscarriage of justice, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know how he's
He
getting
should
away
have
with
been
that one.
he should have been charged with manslaughter at least. And the police and the fucking DA, they just like messed it up
Well,
bad.
I heard something about them withholding information
Yeah,
or evidence.
yeah, yeah. And if the jury thought that it was so serious that they dismissed it with prejudice, this matter cannot be brought up now in court anymore. It's a fucking serious miscarriage of justice. So yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's
Razor says
ridiculous.
that they've got a recording set up so they can play, probably do the world's worst guitar riff over it. Hell yeah! If you send a fucking cool, like if you send us a shitty guitar riff, we'll find ways to use it.
Yeah, give it.
So team, yeah, she's talking about Team Four Stars, Alucard. I think there was no intent to kill
Same.
her on his part to kill her, but he did fire the gun. It was an accident, but it was his. Yeah, it's like there was problems that happened before, but then he also didn't check the gun properly himself, which he's also supposed to do. So it turns into like negligence, which would be why it would be a manslaughter charge because it was an accidental killing of somebody. You might be able to go for
That's
criminal negligence, but that might be a bit far, in my opinion.
yeah. It could be occupational negligence. You could
Yeah.
say
Oh,
that.
definitely. Occupational
Um,
negligence, manslaughter, both would probably be reasonable charges.
yeah.
He thought the gun wasn't going to do anything because it was like for filming, right? He didn't like point it. It wasn't a random person he pointed at. He pointed on his co-star that his on camera was supposed. They're filming him shooting her, but they weren't like he wasn't supposed. Like the gun wasn't supposed to be active because that's the stuff that goes after effects, right? And but he didn't like the people were supposed to check the gun and they didn't. The gun was never supposed to be loaded and it was. So it got loaded, then not taken apart properly, and then not cleaned properly, and then like there was just like a layer after layer of negligence that happened that led to this person's death. And one of the things is that Alec Baldwin was also supposed to check the gun. That's part of utilizing a gun in filming,
the thing
and he
is that
didn't.
they had a process. The process failed,
Yes.
right? So usually what happens is when a fatality happens in New Zealand,
By the way, this is something that
due to
Mani is actually a professional of health and occupation health and safety.
moi. So it's similar to that. A fatality has happened due to their occupation at workplace. Happens in high risk industries all the time. You go to coal mining, oil rigs, the site I'm working at, forestry, you have to be very, very careful. I think so they would have gotten a better chance of getting something for the family, at least if they had gone that way, instead of going through criminal or the legal system. Like that's also legal system, but not going into the court
It
and
probably should have been
criminalizing it.
both, to be honest.
Can be both depending on the evidence that's available. It depends on that a lot. Usually what happens is here in New Zealand, if a fatality happens, the company's in trouble. The company who was in charge of all that shit, they are in trouble. And they have hefty fines that they have to pay. Um, the fines are not from the profits of the company. They have to be out of pocket of the individuals. So people sitting at the top of the company, right? The owners and stuff. Plus there's compensation for the family because that person's gone and they can now there's no income for that family, especially for the children. So there's a way to establish some what do you say, what's the word, compensation for the family, right? And then the question comes whether the company should function or it should be disintegrated or made to go away, or if it's going to function,
What
will the
changes to the
company should
process that failed needs to be made.
and and those changes will be monitored by that regulating body for some time to come.
Which I think in this
So
case would have been what, Warner Brothers? think it was Warner Brothers
Most
doing the
probably, yes.
filming. But Razor's got a question is like, straight up did not know why they would use a real gun on set, let alone let it anywhere near live bullets. Why the fuck were there live bullets on set? So there weren't live bullets on set. That was the only live bullet that was on set. The gun got taken off set the day before to go shooting, and then wasn't put away properly and taken apart properly, and then not taken apart and checked again, and then not checked again. There's at least 3 or 4 times that gun should have been checked, and it wasn't.
So that's what I meant by there was a process that they had established. That process was not followed from the start. So everything topples like dominoes. Usually when we do our investigations, we don't tend to blame people. We come to people last. What we look at is the environment that's been set up. What's the organization's attitude around that stuff? What's the
gun never should have left the locker from set, and it did,
exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And then depending on what level of the organization you are in, who's the manager of that set, especially in charge of safety of that set, who's the they will be culpable, and then people above them going to the board members. So the fines should go straight from that position up. So even the person who took the gun out might not be held responsible, because they had the environment and they had the opportunity to do so. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the system should have been there to prevent that, like the gun ever leaving in the first place. So why was the gun able to leave? Right? Is it, you don't just say, oh, because a person was able to take it. You say, no. There should be some lock boxes and lock checks that were not effective. Why were those things not effective?
How it could have been done was have a lock with interlocks, where if one piece of the lock is missing, you cannot open the whole thing. And those different pieces are with different individuals, or keys. Or you have
you turn the lock where the lockbox where this gun is into a D&D puzzle.
Yeah, basically that. And different people hold different keys. So all the keys have to be together for the gun to get out of the box. You know now what I mean? So even one individual is out. I'll show you. I'll show you what kind of locks. They go on like machinery that can chop your arms off, like, you know, to separate people from risks. Oh, hold on. Let me just see. It's a particular type. Yeah, so that's what it's called, trapped key interlock switches. That's something like that. I'll see if I can get the link for that. Here we go. A version of that can also be formed, because companies are very flexible on coming up with new designs if you want to work with them. So yeah. So when we do our investigations, we come to people last. So we follow procedure, environment, equipment, organization, and then people. People are lost. So yeah, I was not going to be surprised if even on the side of the the regulatory side of it, like, and the occupational health and safety or risk management side of it, if the person in charge of the lockbox or the gun and Alec Baldwin were not charged with anything. They were just employees. It's the person who was in charge of management of who had the title of manager. Yeah, and was responsible for the safety, like the safety manager, the risk manager for the whole set.
Yeah, because the risk manager is the one in charge of making sure the people follow the procedures.
Yes, and
so I mean, Razor's. Did you read out what Razor was saying already? No, Razor said it's like but like it's so insanely unbelievably negligent to me that that a project that's probably has more money in it than my country's GDP is allowed to make such an incredible level of negligence. This is the problem. So actually, the bigger it is, the more money going into it, the harder it is to control. So it's like
Yep.
the amount of safety regulations needs to be grow exponentially with the amount of people and money
This
that are
is
going into it.
so what happened here is you could see it. Just take Alex Baldwin, his whatever he is a star out of the picture. Just take a regular individual performing with a stunt person, and that stunt person gets harmed or there's dies during performing that stunt. That's the whole same thing that will follow, the process that will follow through. This time it's a gun. Usually in other industries, it's a tree that fucking fell on someone. It's a vehicle that, went on someone, rolled over someone, or a machinery that crushed someone. So it's this. So you have to look at that. So now when you start looking at that from that perspective, you start to think about the organization. You start to think about what's their attitude about such things. What's the attitude of the management about
Yeah,
such
there is a
things?
question going on that's going on right now about like why was this even in trial to begin with? Because the system
Mm.
failure is on WB, which I believe it was WB.
Yes.
Again, if it wasn't WB, it's
Even
Disney. If it isn't Disney, it's Fox. If it isn't Fox, it's right whatever the company, the production
some
company
rich
was.
big company.
Right, and they're the ones
Um,
responsible. And at this point, you
exactly.
might argue. I don't know if I'm gonna end up seeing this, but it might end up that Alec Baldwin is viewed as a victim of the case as well, because it's not like he
Yes.
intended to shoot
Yes.
somebody.
Exactly. And that's why I keep telling people, come to people last. Look at everything else first. Did we provide that environment where they could shoot safely? No, the organization didn't do that. If you want to show the lockbox that I put in the live chat, Chesh, the interlock system, I put the link to it in the. So something like that should have been established.
This bitch is currently screen sharing. Is like, Chesh, could you screen share for me? Give me a second.
I'm
I'll get it.
sorry.
I'm teasing. I'm teasing. You're fine.
Ah!
You're my favorite.
So that's and yeah, here we go. So if you go at the if you scroll down a bit. So yeah. So trapped key bolt interlock switches, something like that. If one key is not present, you can't open the whole thing. And those key go with different individuals, right? Or make the gun unfunctionable if there are certain types of bullets in there. Change the design of the gun.
I think that's actually like a thing. I think they're like got like certain bullets will not work within certain guns regardless. But
Yeah,
also like I
yes.
think what you're getting
Not
is that the gun should not function if it is loaded.
yes. Yes. So there are so many ways to look at this. And then you come to people last. So that's why I would go that way. And I think so it is possible if the family of the individual sued Disney or Warner Brothers, whichever company was producing this whole thing, they might have a better chance because that might come under workplace negligence, and they might get compensation through that. So yeah, I think so they should go that way if they want to continue. I don't know because people get exhausted with all these, court cases and stuff. It is exhausting mentally, physically, psychologically. So I don't know if they want to. So yeah, I'm not going to blame Alec Baldwin. I'm not going to like just jump on him and start smashing him. No, not even the person who was in charge of the lockbox for the gun, and not even the person who took it out, unless it was the safety manager themselves of the whole fucking crew.
Yeah, it was somebody who was it wasn't one person. It was like a group of them,
No,
one of them being somebody who was supposed to be to a degree in charge of the guns. So,
that's what I'm saying. So if an attitude was created by the organization, by the management, that it's okay to do so, first and foremost. Second, the lockbox was not appropriate for the job, and the gun was not appropriate for the job either. The design of the gun, simple as that. And when the regulatory body that looks after occupational health and risk comes in, that's what they want to see as a measurement, as like people trying to say, okay, we'll work on making this better. You fine us, bring down the fine, we'll work on it to make it better so that it doesn't happen again. And that's where the changes come in. The design of the lockbox changes, the design of the gun changes, the process changes. There are changes to more changes to process, new processes put in place, and there are clear guidelines. That's how it's done. That's how it should have happened.
Yeah, the court system is only going to feel bad for everybody, right? Because it's just not like, unless you're going to sue Warner Brothers, in which case maybe depends on what the system is. But again, this is also like Hollywood, and it's also America, like Americans Hollywood. Yeah. So that's like a whole nother layer of complicated nonsense.
What the occupational, like safety laws are or regulations are. I'm only what I have observed that they're similar.
You would have, like, even if it's not similar, your experience is valuable, because if that's not the way it is, they are doing it, it's a way they should be doing it. It should at least be part of their process. But Razor's got a point here. He says Alec is definitely not to blame, and one particular person did, but ultimately the fault of the production team leadership was assuming their employees would not do something fuck off insane.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
It's like the same thing, like an employee thinking, oh, I can borrow that piece of hardware and take it home, use that piece of hardware and bring it back, and then they cut themselves. Their arm gets chopped with that piece of hardware or equipment when they're using it at home. Same thing. So when you start looking from that perspective, you really start seeing how people are lost that you should.
It's like blaming a child for shooting a parent because the gun was and ammo were not properly stored.
Like the same thing that happened. I think I might know why they went for the criminal charges, because there has been a point where a child's parents have been charged with criminal negligence and stuff because the child had access to the guns and did the shooting and shit. Maybe that's what they were hoping for, but then they were suing the wrong person. Not suing, sorry, charging the wrong person. Alec Baldwin, who should not have been charged in that case also. Oh my, this is a good part. Chesh, release it on YouTube. So, what happened? Why are you dumb? You're not dumb. Nobody's dumb. And it is terrible to be held responsible at your workplace for someone who lost their life.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's devastating. I'm not surprised that he cried. I'm not surprised at all.
It's a situation where everybody's crying, right? There's also, like,
he will have that guilt for the rest of his life. He will have that guilt for the rest of it. Don't think that.
Well, the thing is like there's a difference between somebody having a personal responsibility and feeling that guilt and doing and dealing with that versus an industry problem, a problem with what the processes. Those are different things, and you can't conflate them into the same thing, because if you do, you run into that kind of a catch-22 where a company gets to never take responsibility for something that the company is responsible for.
Yep. That's where you need to, focus on the company. They had so much money, they couldn't come up with an efficient lockout system for the fucking guns. They couldn't come up with a new design for the fucking guns to be used as props. Huh? Come on.
Razor, I assure you, you are not. We already looked at somebody today who was absolutely dumber than you are. Objectively.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, that's what I'm saying. Not even the person who was in charge of the lockbox should be blamed in this. Plain and simple. It's the whole fucking corporate, the company.
We love the company. The company.
So yeah, it's unfortunate like that, and yeah, and I'm not now they have dismissed the jury has dismissed this case with prejudice. So these charges cannot be brought against him now in future,
Well, and it also
which
leaves something to be wanting for the family potentially too if they're not going to get any kind of restitution through the company and instead of going after Alec Baldwin, which,
the
you know,
family should go should sue the company
which is
or
also a terrifying
companies.
prospect because it's hard to sue and go after like a major conglomerate because like
It is.
because
Or
America's
they might
fuckety
want,
and their legal system is pay to win, which sucks ass.
or the company might come in and say, okay, we'll settle this outside the court because it affects their reputation. Companies, large big companies, corporations like Fox and Warner Brothers already have shit reputations. Now you want to start adding, oh, actors or people can die on your sets whilst filming. Holy shit. Will people want to work with you? Will actors want to work with that company? Yeah, that's another question, isn't
We'd
it?
rather work in the animation department, thank you.
Yeah, or the VFX, yeah. Um, so and sometimes what happens is like don't fall into the trap of, oh, this company had contracted the work out to this company, so they are responsible, solely responsible. No, there's shared responsibility. Both the companies are equally responsible. If, like, for example, for Warner Brothers, they hired a company for props. That prop came from some other company, right? They hired that company, they borrowed or they rented out. So
Yeah,
that company,
you can't just keep passing the buck. Somebody died.
exactly,
It's not you
yeah.
can't just do that.
So it's shared responsibility. And usually what I do know is that such laws are similar across the world, um, because different countries learn from each other. So they adopt the terminology of regulations and laws as much as they can. I don't know the criminal side. Criminal side is a little bit, but um, occupational health and safety and risk management side, yeah, like chemical storage and transportation. A lot of companies, not companies, sorry, countries have now are trying to come up with like what do you say? They're trying to smoothen out the signage, what particular signage means, what signage should go on what type of chemical, what should be there present when the chemical is in transport, bada bum, yeah, yada yada yada. So that's the same thing with this also. So usually the regulations are same. There might be more intricacies about, yeah, can you sue a corporation in America for that? Probably, probably not. I don't know. So yeah. So yeah, so I was, yeah, that's why I didn't comment on the whole Alec Baldwin thing. I think so I had only commented once where I had said the same thing. I was like, maybe should go to the occupational risk management and, hazard management side of it rather than criminal charges or something like that. So yeah.
It's like the weird legal loopholes around Kyle Rittenhouse.
Oh boy.
And like
Yeah,
a
so
lot of the issue with Kyle Rittenhouse was charge it like the lawyers trying to charge him with the wrong things. And so instead of
yeah,
charging him, like they overcharged him here instead of getting him here, which is what they should have gone after, that would have had a way better chance and a way better case, as opposed to like overshooting their shot. Like that kid should be in jail. And like half of that just has to do with like
agreed.
the weird the wacky nature of the American legal system. And it's not just the American legal system. Like every legal system has these weird wacky things and you kind of have to balance what you can and cannot go for, right? And it's just a matter of those things can get really complicated and it is really it emphasizes the need for a good objective lawyer that's going to be like, all right, we know for sure we can get him on these or the individual on these, right? And a lawyer actively being actively participant or actively like um engaged in what you're trying to do, and that can be really hard to find and really hard to get, and lawyers are expensive. Kyle's crying was more believable than Amber Heard's. Yeah, I don't know about that one. Kyle Rittenhouse is a fucking douche nozzle, dude. And he's only gonna get worse. He's only gonna keep getting worse and worse and worse. Yeah, I agree. He's genuinely disgusting. I agree. Absolutely.
So yeah, so you got to be very careful of how you look at things.
Because I
You
had this
got to look at
conversation.
them
I had some
objectively.
conversations with friends from the that are in America about this, and they were like, "Kyle Rittenhouse is going to get off, and he's going to deserve to get off." And I'm like, "What? How are you saying?" He's like, and they were like, "No, no, no. We agree he did something wrong. We agree that these things are problematic, and this should never have happened. But because of the way the court of law works and the laws that are being applied here, he's going to get off, and he's going to deserve it." And it's like, "Son of a bitch, you're right." And I was just like, why?
And
Like, I was getting a little bit upset in that conversation because I'm like, how? They were patient and
so
walked me through it though, so I was like, oh, I see.
yeah. So this is like what basically is punishing the legal system for not doing their job. That's what it is. But unfortunately, in that process, the victims also get dragged in and get punished for no
Following
fault of theirs.
the wacky exploits of Kyle Rittenhouse, aka Dipshit McGee,
Oh
on the
God.
adventures of this asshole.
Uh, um. Yeah. So yeah, I hope what I provided is can help you like think about this whole case from a different perspective. Um. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a matter of like you need to make sure that that when you do charge somebody, you're charging them for the right thing. Because if you charge them for the wrong
Yeah.
thing, then they shouldn't be charged for things they didn't do, right? So you have to make
Yeah.
sure that you're going after them for the thing that they did that you can demonstrate and not overplay your cards.
And I'm actually surprised that the jury had that competency and the capability to recognize that, yeah, bullshit. And they were like, we are not going to make this person go through all this bullshit again. It's dismissed with prejudice. Fuck off. They told the legal system, the whole like DA and everyone, get the fuck out of here. Do your fucking job that you're getting
Go
paid
charge
to do.
the right people. I also think that there's a really big issue if people were withholding information. That's a problem as well, but it's a
Like
problem in a different
why?
direction.
Yeah, that's why when people say that the state law or the law, when they're pursuing you or investigating you, they're on your side and they want to help you. No, they want to get a, what do you say, a verdict, a guilty verdict. That's what they're looking for. You're a target and they want to nail you down. That's why I say get a lawyer and shut the fuck up. Simple as that.